So for those of you that have been living under a rock, Paradox just released their new DLC a few days ago for Crusader Kings 3, and it's known as Royal Court. I've been following the progress of this DLC for a while now, and I've made numerous videos on it as time has gone on. And it's a DLC that Crusader Kings 3 desperately needed for the long-term health of the game, with the DLC being delayed so they could patch up any bugs and avoid a Leviathan 2.0. The expectations of the expansion were sky high, and in a sense it would make or break the game. When it was released just a few days ago, players flocked to buy the new DLC, and have a lot of opinions about it. A quick disclaimer for me as well, Paradox gave this channel early access to the expansion, and they sponsored us on a recent CK3 Royal Court video, but nevertheless, the opinions I express in this video are my own, and I want to give you guys an honest opinion on it. Also, we are planning on making far more Crusader Kings 3 content in the future, so if you like this game, make sure to subscribe. Right, let's get into the video. So firstly, let's quickly discuss the main features of the DLC, and the expansion is broken down into two main aspects. Firstly, Kings and Emperors of Crusader Kings 3 will now have a 3D courtroom, all in different architecture styles, based on the geographical area of your character. Because of the role-playing nature of the game, the developers have certainly tried to expand it in this expansion. The interactions you can have with your liege are far more extensive now. You can ask for bolstered defences at your kingdom's border, or ask for a court position in return for favours. The key difference from before to now is, in my opinion, the visualisation aspect of seeing your character interact in the courtroom allows for a better gameplay experience when playing the game and really distinguishes itself a lot more from Crusader Kings 2. Whereas when Crusader Kings 3 first came out, people were obviously skeptical at just how different Crusader Kings 3 was to its predecessor. Within the core, there's also a lot more features, such as artifacts and court positions. Both these new additions to the game have been heavily inspired by Crusader Kings 2, but on the whole they've been upgraded. Artifacts are much better than Crusader Kings 2 inventory system, and you can use these possessions to decorate your courtroom. It's certainly a fun thing to have within the game. Court positions are also a major feature in this expansion, and you can now have bodyguards protecting you from assassins, and you can even have a jest in your court to entertain you. While you had a similar situation in Crusader Kings 2, it's definitely an upgrade and makes the game a lot better. The second big update in this expansion is cultures. Cultures are a lot more important now in Crusader Kings 3, with many interesting traditions giving you bonuses, and you can now integrate cultures together, completely changing the cultures within Crusader Kings 3. It's something I've never particularly thought about, but now it's a lot more interesting than before. You can also now start to learn languages, and you could gain an advantage in the game if you're able to speak the same language as a neighbouring kingdom. It's definitely more useful in some situations than others, but worth having even though it's not essential. I've already discussed most of this in a previous video, and I want to focus more on my opinion of the DLC. So, is the DLC good? The answer is yes. It's good, and it's an essential part of Crusader Kings 3. All my new Crusader Kings 3 campaigns have been heavily focused on the courtroom, completely changing the way in which I play Crusader Kings 3. The DLC, despite being innovative and therefore stepping into the unknown with this new 3D aspect to it, the DLC still runs smoothly and doesn't break the game as some of the past DLCs from Paradox have done. I particularly like the new artifact system, and it's great to pin my old dead cat to a wall, somehow giving me prestige. Something that has been missing in Crusader Kings 3 are things to do, and you could argue because of the lack of content within Crusader Kings 3, it isn't as replayable as Crusader Kings 2. The Royal Court expansion gives you a reason to play the game longer, and the DLC definitely combines well with the game. When we look at Europa Universalis 4, which is a big game on this channel, it definitely feels like this game is winding down, and the new content they're adding probably won't significantly impact the game. I actually believe with Europa Universalis 4, they're planning the next game already. Crusader Kings 3 though has the opposite trend, and it feels like Paradox are just beginning to develop Crusader Kings 3, and it's a game that is likely to be developed in the future, especially given the fact that concurrent players dramatically increased to 63,000 on the release of Royal Court. Crusader Kings 3 now has a more active audience than the flagship game Europa Universalis 4, so perhaps this is a trend for the future. Having said all this and rating it highly, Why are all the Steam reviews mixed? Clearly that suggests that not everyone agreed that it's good. Well, here's the thing, the DLC costs roughly around $30 US. For an expansion of a game, I think we can say, although it's just come out, it's still quite high for an expansion, especially when you consider you can get older strategy games for the same price. Now, given the fact Paradox have done something radically different, and the 3D courtroom was probably quite expensive to develop, so therefore it's understandable they've upped the price. But regardless of this, a lot of people won't agree that it should be this expensive, and they should cut the price down for what you get in terms of the gameplay. Although the DLC changes parts of Crusader Kings 3, war and economy are pretty much the same, and you could also argue that counts and dukes should also have their own courtroom, as historically we know a lot of the Duke's courts were infamous for interesting politics. So therefore, people state the cost of $30 is too much for the amount of content you get, and I believe if it was $10 then the reviews would be far more positive, and people's expectations of a DLC would be far lower. A solution for this though, is that if you think the price is too high, then I'd recommend either waiting for a sale, or if one of your friends already have the Royal Court expansion, you can play it with them in multiplayer, and get a feel for the DLC yourself. We're planning on doing some CK3 multiplayer, so join the Discord if you want to be part of it. Another reason why people may not particularly like this DLC is because at the end of the day, it's radically different from most Paradox DLCs. While it could appeal to console gamers, which is what we're trying to do and make it more role-playing friendly, the DLC may not directly appeal to map gamers, and knowing the audience a bit, a lot of the people will prefer the content to be focused on the mechanics, more than the 3D design and architecture. I personally would like to have a prism next to the court, and we can see our prisoners we capture, and I think this would ultimately make it more immersive than it already is. So in conclusion, do I think you should buy the DLC, and where do I see Crusader Kings 3 in the future? First of all, if you absolutely love Crusader Kings 3, and it's your main game, then I'd definitely recommend you get the DLC, as it does add a lot to the game, with all the features making your experience better. While the price is a bit high right now, it will go down over time, and as this game gets more expansion packs, I can see Crusader Kings 3 finally becoming more popular than Europa Universalis 4. What do you guys think though? Are you happy with the DLC? Or do you think more should have been added to it? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Shout out to our Patreons, Jodo52, Kargon, Flyerton, Henriki, Redguard76, and Xiaomi. Your support means a lot, guys.